Ever since I was young, I've always seen and heard things that are definitely unexplainable. I'm 18 now, and I still do, all the time. I'm used to being the only one who has had these weird experiences, and also being the only one who sees it. But when I was younger, it was terrifying, I admit, but now I just kind of brush it off and continue living my life the way I do. And before I continue, just know that I don't suffer from any mental illnesses that may cause me to see things. I've only been diagnosed with depression once, and for those concerned, I'm on medication and I'm stable. And so I guess I'll give you guys the top 3 creepiest encounters that I've had, though I do have many more, but the thing about these ones is that they're the ones that got me to realize that there's some things that we can or cannot see and are just unexplainable. So I was 13 when this happened, and sadly I don't have evidence of this event because 1, I had no phone at that age, and 2, I had a tablet, but I'm not going to whip out anything to record anything when shit hits the fan. I was sick and no one was home that day but me and my awesome pit bull Sugar. She's my favorite fat nugget. My mum was at an appointment, my dad was at work, and my younger brother was of course at school. I was home alone and bored out of my mind, just laying on the couch watching random stuff on TV, so I decided to go and put the dishes away from the dishwasher into the cabinets where they belong. First, I put away glass cups, and the cabinet where the cups go is just above the dishwasher. And before I continue, I always had this irrational thought every time that I put anything away in the cabinets, that I always made sure that they weren't close to the ledge so it doesn't fall on my head or break the counter or the floor. Normally, there would be 2 inches of space away from the ledge, and I always made sure that I pushed them as far back as I could until I hear the glass clink, if you know what I mean. I was finishing up on the last glass cup, placing it in the cabinet. I look up to make sure all of them are where they belong, and I look down to close the dishwasher, and then I hear a glass break. I jumped a little and looked to see a broken glass in the middle of the kitchen. And once I see it, the door to enter into the garage opens wide. Sometimes the door handle is crappy and it'll open on occasion. It started doing it this year, but it definitely only opens a crack, not wide open like this. So I just stare in shock, and Sugar started barking at the opening to the garage. I knew damn well that I was too sick for this weird shit, so I ran to close the door, quickly clean up the glass the best that I could. The glass went everywhere, mind you, and I ran into my room with Sugar. My dog is not aggressive, but that time, she was pissed at whatever was there. I mean, she's a fat nugget, like I said, who I share my food with all the time. She normally barks at random strangers and neighbors outside from the front window, near the front door, or barks at the fences in the backyard, but never towards the garage. My dog is never intimidating too, but that time, I was actually scared that she was after something or someone because the way she was growling just was not normal. So the next story happened when I was about 11. I have a sister who is a drug addict and was then as well. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that too because I'm still healing from what I went through because of her. I still love her, by the way, but I just don't want to get involved with her anymore, and there's just no point. Anywho, me and her were forced to share this room that is now my own before she decided to move out. I don't remember a lot of the argument. All I remember was that I was pissed at her enough to want her to sleep in our living room and away from me. But we have 2 living rooms, my parents' and the kids' living room. Ours is where you enter from the front door and there you are. There's also a doorway to enter the other living room, and I had my pillow and blanket with me because I was the one who had to go sleep there. And I was by myself in the dark. And then I noticed a white, pale face staring at me through my parents' living room window. At first, I thought my eyes were just playing tricks on me until it moved closer to the window as if it wanted a better look at me. So I froze, and then I realized that I needed to get to the restroom, which was close, to get away from this thing. But knowing my luck, I thought at the time, it was only going to get worse. The face that was staring at me, it had big black eyes and pale skin, almost white skin, and I was about to get up until I heard a metal clinging. And it was indeed getting closer. I still saw whoever the hell was at the window, but the sound came from the kitchen. And slowly, he moved into my parents' living room, and just as I was about to piss myself, I scream at the top of my lungs. And my sister, still being up, comes running out and started holding me and asked what was going on. I told her to run back into the room. Her being freaked out by what I said, we ran back into our room, and I even locked the door. Of course, she kept asking questions, and so I explained to her what happened. Let's just say that we didn't sleep until the sun came up that night. All I can say is that I just felt an intense hostility in the air when I saw and heard whatever the hell that was. It was so bad that my chest was hurting, and it actually took a while for me to recover from that and to be able to be in the living room at night again after that. And to this day, even now some nights, I still get sketched out. So the last story, I highly debated on which one to tell you guys. I've had a lot of scary experiences that would make anyone be fearful of me in my home, but not all of my experiences were actually from here. In fact, over half were in different locations. So my parents are divorced at this time because my biological father was an abusive and cheating asshole who can't stop planting his seeds anywhere. But they split when I was 3, and now my mum is loved and respected by a man that I do call my dad. When really he's my stepdad, but he's that awesome that I consider him as my own. I do love the guy, and I started spending weekends with him when I was 13 and stopped when I was 16. My stepmom has been with him, and I got a baby sister from them both. She's 7 now, but when this happened, she was 3 and I was 14. So normally my stepmom would pick me up and my younger brother up on Fridays to take us home on Sundays. It was a Friday, and by this time, I've come to terms that I can see things. On our way to Bio-Dad's, my stepmom decided to tell me that my baby sister hasn't been behaving and that she has an imaginary friend named Creepy. And immediately, that was a red flag. When kids develop imaginary friends, be very cautious, especially when they can see them at eye level to them. It's likely something demonic or bad-spirited that wants something from them. So at this point, I'm now pretty alarmed, and once we get there, I go to talk to my baby sister. She, of course, greeted me with hugs and kisses, and I was glad to see her, but most definitely worried. I immediately asked her about Creepy, and her smile quickly changed into a blank expression. She whispered that he's under Daddy's bed, and that was enough for me to pick her up and talk to her in the living room about whoever the fuck was in there. She told me that he had human teeth and how he likes to play at night. I told her to never talk to him again. She was sad because she's young. She doesn't understand the risk of whether or not this creepy dude had good intentions or not. I calmed her down and told her that she wasn't in trouble, but to just stay away from Creepy. Then I go into Bio-Dad's room and he explained more to me about what he saw. He has bad sleeping habits, so in the middle of the night he would wake up and be awake for hours. And one night he looked to check to see if my sister was in bed, and she wasn't. Instead, he saw her facing the corner, just standing there. And this was around 3 in the morning, and soon after that she would just yell at nothing to leave her alone and let her sleep. Whatever it was that was screwing with her was starting to mess with her more. That night, I was already alarmed, so I stayed up with my sister and everyone else went to bed. And soon enough, I saw something standing over her, watching her. Now, in the past when I've seen things, I see flashes of images of what they look like before they passed or whatnot. But with this, though, it manifested in front of me, which seemed a lot more powerful than normal. And there it was, standing and watching her sleep. I screamed at this thing to leave her alone, and everyone woke up but my brother. I turned on the light. My sister was awake the whole time, but she said that she was so scared to move. She said that she told me no and that he was now mad at me. I made her sleep with me since she was afraid of sleeping alone at this point. And when everyone went back to bed, it wasn't done with us just yet. At this point, I've got some idea of how to protect myself and others, and I was no longer afraid. If anything, I was actually angry. I mean, it was messing with my baby sister. I saw it again, standing near the doorway to my Bio-Dad's room, facing the living room where me and my sister were. Then, I got flashes of what it was while it was stepping closer to me. And all I can say is that it felt terrible. Each image that I saw of this face, it was nothing but darkness, and its human fucking teeth. When I turned on the light, it was hiding. I went to the kitchen and grabbed some sea salt and poured it on every window and every doorway. I prayed and finally said with those with evil intent that you're not welcome here. I turned off the lights and there it was, more pissed off, but now I had the upper hand. I just kept yelling that it wasn't welcome here and told it to leave over and over again. And then it just disappeared. It was gone. The energy felt clear and my sister never saw nor talked about him again. But one time she cried at warm-up because she saw something and said it looked like creepy, but other than that, I think I won the fight. Over time, I've learned what to do to protect myself, and it's definitely not always easy, but it does help. I'm not afraid like I used to be. These bad experiences taught me lessons to keep having faith in the most difficult times or situations. I really don't know for certain which religion to believe in when it comes to good versus evil, but all I do know is that there is definitely good and evil in this world. Some we can see and some we can't. Anyway, I know some people aren't going to believe me because some people are just flat out skeptics, and that's okay. I expect that. But I hope you guys enjoyed the story, and I can confirm that everything that I said, I believe, is 100% the truth. My friends and I, for the past 2 years, go on vacations and pick where we stay by Airbnb. Last year we had no problems, even though the house wasn't the nicest, but this year we were sure that it was going to be a better experience. We got a house through this one man who had amazing reviews, and he was even verified on the app for the reviews that he got. When we got to the house, nothing seemed wrong. It was an amazing deal and was a really nice place, only a mile from the beach, which was nice. I never go into a house or a place that I'm staying at, though, and think that it might be haunted or someone was in there or anything, so I just didn't think much of it. Now, the house was set up as the following. You walk in, and on the right is a room with a bunk bed and a pull-out bed. I slept in there along with my friends E and N. On the left from the front door is the living room with a pull-out bed. The first night we slept there, my friend D slept out on the pull-out couch. But when you walk through the living room, it's the dining room and the kitchen. There was a back door in the kitchen that led out to the backyard. Before going into the kitchen, if you walked right, there was a hallway with a bathroom and then another room with a double bed. My friend H and her girlfriend slept there, and next to that, my friends C and A slept together in another double bed. There was a basement too that we were only able to get into from the backyard and by using the house key. Well, like I said, nothing happened the first night and we were actually having a lot of fun. We went to the beach that night and got food and came back and played some drinking games. The next day we all went to the beach, and the only bad thing about the house was it had one bathroom for like 8 people. Me, D, H and a girlfriend went back before the other 4 to shower and just get ready for dinner and whatnot, so it saved some time. D went downstairs into the basement to check it out, and we were all shocked to find out just how nice it actually was down there. It was all redone with a huge couch, some game tables, and a nice place for the washer and dryer. D decided that he would actually rather sleep down there since it was more space and he would have his own little room. His room is actually in his basement at his house, and so he's used to it and doesn't get freaked out by anything like that. So that night we go for dinner and everyone came home. D went to bed in the basement and we made sure that we locked the door and all the doors and the windows were locked. I get up at around 2 a.m. and go to the bathroom by walking through the living room and the dining room. But the street didn't have any street lights, and since all the lights were off in the house, it was actually completely pitch black in the house. I didn't bring my phone or anything, and everyone was sleeping since we went to bed pretty early that night. I walked through the dining room and the living room, and then I suddenly just got a weird feeling. In the pitch black, I was in the living room, and I just felt something. It felt as if someone was standing in the corner of the living room, maybe. It was like the feeling if you're in a room with someone who just walks in, but your back is to them, and you just kind of feel someone in the room with you. It wasn't D, since he was definitely in the basement. Plus, we locked the doors, so he couldn't come up even if he wanted to. I was frozen because I knew someone was in there. But the only thing that I could do was run through the living room and go to my room and lock the door. I didn't say anything to my friends because they like to think that I'm paranoid about things, and I know they wouldn't take me seriously anyway. The next day, when we went to bed, I was the one to sleep on the pull-out bed. There was a window in my room right above my bed since it was on the floor. Everyone was sleeping and I was on my phone since I go to bed pretty late. The house next to us had a driveway that was on the other side of their house, so it wasn't on our side. And something caught my attention from the window. It kind of looked like a light, maybe? I thought it was a car light pulling into the driveway, but I realized the driveway was on the other side of the house. So I looked up and I definitely saw a shadow of someone. And then it looked like an outline of a head looking into the window through the blinds. It could have been my imagination, but since I just saw the light, it made me even more nervous. I was texting my friend from home and I was telling her how scared I was, and when I looked back, it was gone. Which definitely means that something was there. The light and the thing that looked like a head had just disappeared though. She was texting me telling me that it was probably nothing. And the next morning was when I told my friends E and N. They, of course, thought that I was joking and just overreacting. So I just kind of let it go because I knew what I was seeing and what I felt, but they were never going to believe me anyway. The next day, though, or the day after that, the right of us split up again, me, D and H and a girlfriend going up to the shower before anyone else. The other four came back though, and while Em was in the shower, everyone else was in the living room just talking and sitting on our phones waiting for her, and there was a window in the shower with curtains, but the glass was foggy and blurry, so people from outside can't look in when you're showering. En walks out in a towel and looks at all of us and goes, "Who's tapping on the window?" We all look at her and told her that no one, since we were all on the couch the whole time. She looked at us like she didn't believe us and asked again. We assured her, though, that we were all in the room the whole time. But she said that it sounded like someone was tapping on the window, and since she thought that it was one of us, she tapped back twice. And a few seconds later, whatever it was, tapped back at her twice. I looked at her and she made a face at me, finally thinking that what I've been seeing could definitely be real. Nothing else happened when we were on that trip, but I never get the feeling as if some place is haunted or there's someone in a house. And that was the actual first time that I've ever been scared to stay somewhere, and I just can't explain what it was. So this happened about 6 years ago when I used to take long walks or hikes to clear my mind and just enjoy being by myself. I always love the woods and exploring new paths and getting lost on purpose because I've got pretty good orientation sense and I never actually got confused or actually lost. But there was this one time when it was a little different. So I went into the woods. It was a clear sunny day and I remember taking a new path by changing the direction because I was bored. I came to a certain area and everything just started to feel strange for a good amount of time. Like feeling dread the whole time that I was walking. And what was weird is that it was just a feeling that just kind of happened suddenly. But there was kind of no rhyme or reason for it, it just kind of happened. I came to a certain crossroad with a map built into the wooden board. I figured where I was approximately and set off exactly in the opposite direction from the board. I remember hearing very strange music playing from a far distance and didn't give much attention to it. Also, the sun was shining on my back when walking by the right side of the road the whole time since I set off. After walking for like 10 minutes, there was pretty rough paths leading into the woods where the music was coming from, but to my right. I walked a little further that way and figured that the music was just still playing far away in the distance. Even when I walked that direction for like a good mile, it just always seemed to stay in that distance. So, anyways, I came back to the main road and continued walking the right side for a good 30 minutes. And after that, I began to see certain objects in the distance. I thought it was another crossroad, but as I was nearing it, I dropped into ultimate fear and disbelief because the object was the same crossroad that I set off from in the beginning. It started to get dark out pretty soon after that, which was kind of weird because it wasn't that long after that I got there. But for some unknown reason too, I just had this disastrous feeling that if I don't run, that something very wrong is about to happen. And so I did. And everything was fine after that. Now, when it all happened, I quickly started reasoning with myself that maybe I didn't realize and went the other direction from the path that I walked to find the source of the music, but the path that I encountered was a short walk from the crossroad or something, and when I was walking, I just kind of circled back or something. But after thinking about it for some time, I just don't think that that's possible. The thing is that the sun was shining to my front, which doesn't make any sense. I also remember these details pretty vividly, and I couldn't and still can't find any rational reason about what happened, because the two things that I described just didn't make any sense, and I've tried to disprove this theory, but I just can't. G'day mates, it's Busta here. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you would like to help me out, then please go ahead and watch another video by clicking on a card on the screen. As always guys, thanks for all the love and support, and I'll see you mates in the next one.